Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Nicole with Made from Scrap, and today we are going to be working on the mini album that I am making for my design team package using the London collection. That's by Carta Bella, and this is a design team package for Country Craft Creations. So I am using the medium weight chipboard, heavy duty chipboard that is available at Country Craft Creations, which I will link all the materials below in the description box. But I want to encourage you to pull out your pen and paper so you can jot down the measurements and the score measurements at the same time as we go along. Also, I want to just encourage you to cut the larger size papers first and then your smaller ones after that from the scraps, okay? So we're going to start with 2 pieces of the chipboard. These measure 9 inches wide by 7 inches tall. So that's going to be your front and back cover, and then we're going to have a spine piece, and this measures 1 1/4 inches wide by 7 inches tall. That means you're going to have then 2 pieces of cardstock to be able to wrap around the covers that measures 11 inches wide by 9 inches tall. That gives you 1 inch border all the way around to wrap it. And for the spine piece, you're going to cut a piece that measures 4 1/4 inches wide by 9 inches tall. So with that, I will put the link to my lay flat tutorial in the description box below. And if you have never done this type of joining for your mini albums, which literally lets your chipboard lay flat, okay, then that's just take a short break, go over to that video, and then come on back here. So I have this piece here and already put together, glued together. I also cut one piece that measures 3 inches wide by 6 7/8 inches tall. So that will lay right here, and I'll glue that down on the inside of my spine, and then that would mean that my piece is covered here on the inside. I'm just using art glitter glue to attach this, and just centering it top to bottom, left to right, burnishing that down, and then I'm going to push down into those creases on either side. Okay, and you have these wings. Really, any piece of your scrap you can use, as long as it's wide enough to be able to glue some wings down on either side. I just had this 3-inch piece available, so I grabbed it and cut it down to length. That was it. So now I'm placing glue on the underside of these wings, and then I'm just going to burnish that down. Okay. Now I'll let that dry for a second, but now I have my completed album cover. So I'm going to set those aside, and I'm going to start out with my hinge, which this measures 1 1/2 inches by 6 and, let me see here, 6 3/4 inches. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and score that with the 1 1/2 inch at the top. I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. This is going to give me a 1/2 inch gusset in between the 2 flaps, and those are going to be the 2 flaps that I end up attaching my inside pages to. So I'm going to set this inside of my cover, and that way I can come back to that and not lose the hinge, hopefully. Next, we're going to move on to some of the inside pages. These pages are going to attach to the cover pieces themselves. So these measures 9 1/4 inches in width by 7 inches tall. And then I am going to, let me see, is that a little bit long? No, 7 inches tall. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and with the 9 1/4 inches at the top, I'm going to go ahead and score this at 1/2 inch. And you need 2 of these, so we're going to do that twice. Same measurements, same score measurement. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stacking off camera, and each thing that I do, I'm going to stack it on top so that I keep my order each time I go through this project. So next I'm going to move on. I need 6 pieces. This is for a 4x6 waterfall. So we're going to have 6 pieces that measure 6 3/4 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall. And with the 6 3/4 inches at the top, we're going to score that at 1/2 of an inch. And just like I said, I'm going to do all 6 of these exactly the same. So that's the 3rd one. This is the 4th one. 5th and 6th. Okay. Next, I'm going to have this piece right here that is a pocket, and the pocket measures 9 7/8 inches wide by 5 inches tall, and we're going to score that with the 9 7/8 inches at the top at 1/2 of an inch. We're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn so that the 5 inches is at the top. Score that again at 1/2 an inch, and then another second rotation, and we're going to score it last time at 1/2 of an inch. So this is a wide pocket. You have the 3 score lines like a U, and we'll end up cutting out the corners here in order to create our pocket. But let's move on. Right now we're going to go next to our 12 pieces. Yep, a dozen of them. And these measure 3 1/4 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches tall. And these are going to be for the 3x4. We're going to have 2 sets of waterfalls. So I'm going to turn these to the side so that we have the 4 3/4 inches at the top. And we're going to go ahead and score that at 1/2 of an inch. So we're going to do that to all 12 of them. So that is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I am using the Artisan cardstock. This is white. I will make sure that I have a link in that to that in the description box below as well. And here is number 12. Okay, so there I have scored all of those. Stack those up not so neatly. There we go. Okay, so moving right along, we are going to have our next piece that measures 7 inches, let me turn this, 8 inches wide by 7 inches tall. And this is going to be a belly band. So it actually is going to be 7 inches wide by 8 inches tall, but we're going to turn it so that we can have the 8 inches at the top of our scoreboard, and we can go ahead and score that at 1/2 of an inch and 7 1/2 inches. Okay, it's going to be a vertical belly band. So that's that one. We only need one of those. And then next we're going to have 2 pieces. These are for pocket pages that measure 8 1/2 inches by, what is this, 6 3/4 inches, okay, tall. And for this, what am I doing, Nicole? Okay, that was right. 8 1/2 inches by 6 3/4 inches. And we're going to have 2 of these, but we're not going to score either of those. That's going to be for our pocket page. Next, you're going to need 2 pieces that measure 8 1/2 inches by 7 3/4 inches. And this is the one that we're going to go ahead and rotate it so that you have 7 3/4 inches at the top. And you're going to score that at 1/2 an inch and 7 1/4 inches. Okay, and you're going to do the second one. Same measurement, scored at 1/2 of an inch and 7 1/4 inches. Okay, set that aside. Next, you're going to have 2 pieces that measure 5 1/4 inches wide by 6 inches tall. And with the 5 1/4 inches at the top, we're going to go ahead and score this at 1/2 inch. Then you're going to rotate it one time. 6 inches at the top, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. Now these are going to be angled pockets, so we're actually going to do the scoring on both of these, but in a mirror fashion. So we're going to go ahead and score this with the second one with the 5 1/4 inch at the top at 1/2 inch, and this time we're going to rotate the opposite direction, and we're going to go ahead with the 6 inches at the top and score it at 1/2 inch. This way you actually have a mirror, so you have scores on either side, the bottom and then the outside, and then we're going to end up flipping these over towards each other. Okay, so now you have the score lines at the 1/2 inch and down at the 5 1/2 inch, okay, mark. And what we're going to do is at the top you should have 5 1/4 measurement, and we're going to go ahead and just put a little mark at 2. Okay, you can do that with your pencil as well, just a little mark at 2. And then both of these pieces together, hold them together, we're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn so that you still have, what you have is the score lines over here at 5 1/2 and over here at 4 3/4 inches, none along this inside corner. And you're going to go ahead, so now we have the 6 inch measurement at the top of our scoreboard, and we're going to go ahead and mark this at 3 1/2 inches. Okay, so just like that, and these are mirrored together, so you see our score line here, place that on top of each other. So the score lines are on top, stacked on top of each other right now. So with these two pieces, 2 inch mark, rotate it to the left a 1/4 turn, 3 1/2 inch mark. And what that means is that we're going to end up placing this in our cutter so that we cut that off right there. Going to connect those two dots, cut that off at an angle. Okay, so I'm going to leave those together and set those aside. And let's keep going. So next we're going to have 2 pocket pieces. So the first one measures 9 1/2 inches wide by 2 3/4 inches tall. And for this first one, we're going to go ahead with the 9 1/2 inches at the top and score that at 1/2 inch and 9 inches. We're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn, doesn't matter which way. So now you have 2 3/4 inches at the top, and we're going to score that at 1/2 inch. So again, this is a wide pocket. You see that U that we've created? We'll end up cutting out those corner pieces. But the next one is going to measure 9 1/2 inches wide again, but it only measures 3 1/4 inches in height. And with the 9 1/2 inches at the top, we're going to go ahead again and score it 1/2 inch and 9 inches. Rotate it and go ahead and score it at 1/2 inch. Okay, this one we are going to cut out the corners of as well, but we're not going to burnish that bottom piece. So you'll see what we do in a moment. All right, lastly, you should have 2 inserts for your pocket pages that measure 8 1/2 inches by 6 1/4 inches tall, and we're not going to score either of those. All right, so that is the last of our cutting and scoring. So I'm going to pick up my stack. This is how I stack them. I'm going to hold it together and flip it right over. Okay, now I am starting right back at the top. So I'm going to have my first 2 pieces, which are my flap pages, and I'm just going to start burnishing here and assembling in my album. Okay, so I have my first 2 pieces. I have my hinge that I didn't lose, thank goodness. Give that a good burnish again. All right. So first things first, we're going to have our first page. We have the 1/2 inch flap over here on our left, and that is going to get glued here along the outside of our album. And so what you should notice is that you have a little gap here until you should have a 1/4 inch gap between the edge of the page and your hinge mechanism, right? All right, so we're going to glue these on. You're going to have one for each side of the album. So I'm going to glue that down, line it up with the bottom here. Just like that. Open it up and burnish that down again. And then I'm going to do this one on the opposite side, so on the back cover. Line it up to the outside. Make sure it's lined up with the bottom so it's nice and straight. Burnish that down. And if you want to have a ribbon closure for your album, I should have said, and you want it to the inside of your album, you might want to put it on before you have these pages. For instance, let me show you here. If you pretend this flap wasn't on, then I would set my ribbon down, I would put some tape across it to hold it down, and then I would put this page down on top of it. So I am not going to use a ribbon for my closure on this project. So on the inside, so I'm not going to worry about it yet, but I will likely be using it on the outside of my album a little bit later. All right, what we're going to do is build these flaps as much as we can first, and then I'll end up putting this on the inside because I'll need to cut a decorative piece of pattern paper there. So we're going to keep working. I have next in my stack these 6 pieces of waterfall. These are the ones that measured 6 3/4 inches by 4 1/4. So I'm just going to burnish each of those. Okay. And I am going to be using some of the string to hold these shut. So I will be attaching my string in a moment. All right. These are going to end up going just along here. So I do want to wrap my string around first because I'm going to have each one of these pieces of the waterfall glued down next to each other like so, on, so on, so on, so on, so on. Okay, so that they stack, and then we'll have a tie closure here. So let me get my tie closure, and I am going to use this yellow one. So I'm going to grab my double-sided tape, and let me use my grid. Put this here. Since I know these measure 4 1/4 inches, and I am going to have them about 1/4 inch from the bottom, so I can eyeball this thing to the center. That's about the center. Place 2 things of double-sided tape on top of there. All right, and now I get to take that off. And no, actually I want to leave that on so I don't stick it quite so much just yet. All right, so now back to the gluing here on our flaps. I'm going to place this down. Oops. I'm going to leave that 1/4 inch, or maybe 1/8 of an inch, I guess. 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. That's probably more like it. Okay. And this is why I left the double-sided tape, because I figured, ooh, if I went like this and I burnished, I'd be burnishing into that double-sided tape. So left the backing there. Okay, we'll just take it off as we go. So this next one, I can go ahead and glue down. And I'm just going to abut this folded edge right up to that little 1/2 inch flap that I just put down on the other one. And then I can burnish this. Open it up and burnish it again. And then I can take off this next one. Let's see. I'm just covering up that double-sided tape so that I only have a 1/2 inch exposed. This way I'm not gluing part of this waterfall that I don't want to glue down. All right. There we go. Fold it open, burnish it down. There we go. Next. Keep moving on. Okay. Can see how that's lining up so far. We've got 2 more to go. There we go. Put that up. And the last one. Just like that. Okay. All right. And then we're going to place this here and put my double-sided tape across. Just like that. And I will end up putting a piece of decorative paper down here as a border, so I did hold off from the edge about 1/8 of an inch with my double-sided tape. Okay, so when I close this up, I'll end up having our seam binding closure like this, tied into a nice little bow there. Okay, don't need quite so much. And there we go. All right. And I will tie these ends into a little knot to help them keep from fraying so badly. Here we go. And then this one. Just like that. Okay. Perfect. All right, first waterfall done, just like that, and it will be attached to this page so we don't have it really flopping around so much. But that is going to be the one side, and then we are going to move on to this flap here, and we're going to end up opening this up, okay? And let's see, Nicole, hold on. Is that what I wanted to do? No, we're still on the left-hand side. My bad. My bad. Yeah, so we're going to end up putting a pocket on the inside of this left cover. So now we're going to take our scissors and cut out the corners. So this was the next piece that was on our stack. Cut out the corners here. Fold and burnish the sides. Fold and burnish the bottom. Just like that. Okay. And this is going to set down right at the bottom here. Okay, centered on that cover chipboard, or chipboard cover, front chipboard cover. Okay, place glue on all 3 of those flaps. And like I said, center. We don't want it tucked right up against the page, and you should be able to put this right-hand side just before the gusset. Okay. Make sure it's nice and flat there. Now we're done with the left-hand side. Isn't that awesome? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the left side. And for this, we're going to be working with our 2 vertical waterfalls. And these are going to be on our inside of our back cover. So again, before we put our waterfalls on, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to go ahead and use our string, first of all. This is the string. This is the black jute. And because I have this on the inside, I'm using this jute because it's going to be a smaller bow. Okay, not so bulky. But what I want to do is measure here, since I'm going to have 2 vertical waterfalls. We're going to have a piece here and a piece here. And if you want to have 1 waterfall going down and then 1 waterfall going up, that is totally up to you. I'm going to choose to put both of mine in the down position, which means that I am setting these up because it's 9 inches wide. I will be setting these up so that they are on my belly band. So you should have 12 of these. We're going to go ahead and burnish these, all 12 of them, and then you should have your belly band piece. So let's go ahead and pick that up first and burnish that. This should make it a little easier to line up all of the waterfall once we have our belly band. So a couple of things. We're going to have it like this. We're going to have it like this. And I'm going to be measuring this. Our chipboard is 9 inches. And I want to place this down. Let me put my thing down here. Chipboard is 9 inches, and I want to line my belly band up so that it is centered, which means at the 1 and the 8 is the outside edge of the belly band. Okay. Now, one thought for you. The decorative paper. If you have a hard time slipping the decorative paper underneath a belly band, then you may want to only, initially, I should say, glue one side down of the belly band. So let me show you. Okay, I've only glued one side. I have my ruler down at the bottom so that I am aligning this up with the 1 inch mark and the 8 inch mark. And that will center my belly band on the chipboard piece, the cover. Now I'm going to hold off from gluing this one down so that I'll have the ability to put my decorative paper and then this. But before I start putting, we're going to line up to the outside of the belly band our, what do you call these again? These things. Waterfall. Before we put our waterfall, I want to put my string. Place this here so that I can eyeball the center. Again, oopsie. Okay, Just like that. Now I'll be able to place this down. I want to burnish this. Put my glue. Take off the backing of that first piece. Line it up with the outside edge of my belly band. Just like that. And burnish it down. Now, so that you know, this is wide enough so that there is going to be a strip showing in between your two waterfalls. If you want to have decorative paper underneath all of your waterfall pieces, now is going to be the time after you attach these first two pieces. And that's what I'm going to do, but I first need to get my other string. And a rough measurement here. Get my double-sided tape. Rough measurement for the middle, just like so. Yes, I know that this string is still attached, but I am going to cut it in just a moment. Line up that outside corner and the outside edge and burnish that down. And then make sure it's straight and then burnish it down. Open it up. See, that's why we got to try to keep that backing on there so I don't glue down the sheet. That I don't want to. Okay. All right, I'm going to take this string, I'm stretching it out so I can find the middle. I'm going to cut the middle. Then I will be putting this string down here, about where I think the middle is. And placing my double-sided tape there. And then similarly, put my other one here. Place my double-sided tape there. Okay. Now I have my two strings. All is well. And I need my decorative paper. So I will be right back. Let me go cut that. I'm going to cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter than the belly band piece itself. Okay, so that will be, what did we say, 7 inches by 7 inches, so 1/8 inch, so 6 7/8 inches by 6 7/8 inches. I will be right back. Okay, this is the paper that I selected, the phone booths. Now I get to take off all the double-sided backing. Make sure your string is out of the way. And then just center that puppy. And stick her down. All right. Now we've got that. Now we can move on to the rest of our waterfall pieces. Okay. So let's go ahead and burnish the rest of these things so that they are at the ready. And my intention with this, for this collection, was to be able, since there is a whole sheet of 3x4 cut-aparts, I intended to use every single one of those on this double waterfall here. And you can put pictures underneath of each one of the flaps. So I thought that would be fun way to use the paper collection. I also thought there are plenty of other collections that actually have, you know, a whole sheet of 3x4s as well. And one thing I just thought of, that because I put this paper down and these flaps on first, you're going to have this strip that shows at the top. Is that okay? Is that not? Let's see. 3, 4, 5. 6. So, I wonder, Nicole, if I don't do this. Offset them this way. I don't know. Well, I royally screwed that up, I think. Nope, I don't like that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll just end up putting another strip at the top there in a different color. Yeah, we'll do that as a header across. You know what? I'm just going to go with it. Okay, so if you didn't put your paper down yet, let's see, that's it. Yeah, I don't want to rip it up. I'm just going with it. That's why you watch the video first, right? Oh boy. All right, gluing. We are just mass gluing now. Okay. Glue her down. Glue her down. Make sure you line it up with the edge. There we go. Well, that one looks a little wonky. But we are not going for perfect. We are going for project. Finish the project. Ooh, I hope you can't hear. My husband is banging outside. Okay. Anyone planning anything big for Easter coming up? We usually have Easter over at our house, actually, with our kids and the grandkids. Honestly, don't even know about Easter this year because my grandson's birthday is right about that time, and his parents are having a big to-do for his birthday this year because he's turning 10. So we are having a Wild West theme party at our house. They're holding it at our house. Should be lots of fun. Oh, this might be annoying because this jute comes apart, sheds a lot. But we're just going with it. Yeah, so we are helping them go all out for this party. They don't usually have a party, so they chose to do a big party for his 10th. They usually have, like, you know, cake and ice cream with just the family, which is really nice. And like I said, this year going all out. So Wild West theme. My daughter painted a sign that says the Wild Wild West and on wood. And my husband just put up posts into our backyard. I'll take a picture and put it in here so you can see, but that is just the beginning. So I took a picture just to say, oh, this is just the start, huh? They have all kinds of signs that they made out of wood, her and her husband, mom and dad. Really cool. They got a little spittoon. They're going to have the kids spitting, sounds disgusting, but spitting sunflower seeds into the spittoon, and they have a blow up, one of those blow up jumpy things, but instead of it just being a jumpy thing, it's going to have a mechanical bull on it. I am thinking the kids are going to go wild for that. We're having dress up, so everybody's going to be dressed up in their Wild West attire. Should be super fun. Anyway, that is the Saturday before Easter, because he's an April baby, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. They're having little like cans that the kids can shoot Nerf guns at and knock them over. So it's almost like doing like a whole carnival, Wild West carnival thing, but it'll be a lot of fun. All right, so that was inside right there. Then this flap is going to close, and then we are going to be working with here, so we can put our 2 pocket pages on. So I don't want to use that same paper. Let me get my decorative paper on here and I'll be right back. All right, so I got a coordinating color card, or what do you call this? Coordinating sheet on. That is the gray, and now I am placing glue on the 1/2-inch gusset of my hinge here, and I am just setting this down. Eyeballing the center there. Okay, I can burnish it down, and then make sure your flaps aren't glued. You really want those to be able to bend back and forth, because our pages are going to be attached to those. Our additional 2 pages. These are going to be the pocket pages. All right, so now we have that. All right, let's move on to the pocket pages. So the next 4 pieces, you're going to have 2 pieces that have no score line, right? And then you're going to have 2 that have score at the top and the bottom. So let's go ahead and fold those and burnish those. Okay. So that's one. So you're going to flip it over. We have the 2 1/2 inches, top and bottom. And you have your sheet that you didn't do any burnishing to, any scoring to, and we're going to lay that right on top like so. Now, if you want a thumb notch or something like that, now is the time to do it, because it's a lot easier to put it in before you attach this than afterwards. So I am going to go ahead and get one of my dies, and I'm going to go ahead and notch this out. Not a die, a punch, I should have said. A punch. So what am I going to do? I'm going to figure out the center. 1, 2, 3. So 3 3/4. I need 3 3/8. Okay, so 3 3/8 inches. That is the center. Good. I'm going to do this one as well. I have these both the same. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 1/4, and then an 1/8. That is the center. And I have both sheets together, and I'm going to go ahead and use my punch punch that out. So now that's my thumb notch hole. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and glue these down. So, glue there, glue there. It's a little much. Do you remember Elmer's paste with the brush? Right? Using that for your crafting. Anyway, I was just thinking of it because using my finger, it used to always be on your fingers. Okay, that's one pocket page, and that is going to end up going on like so. And if yours doesn't fit, like mine doesn't, we're going to go ahead and notch these. Just angle ever so slightly, just like that. And I definitely could have done this before I glued it down, but you know, we're just going with it. All right, now should be able to slide right in. Okay, just like that. And we'll glue that down. Let me put glue on both sides. More so towards the top than the bottom, because the further you put it down towards the hinge or the gusset of the hinge, the more chance you have at it squishing out. Just saying. Ask me how I know. Okay. Making sure it's straight on there. Pretty good. Pretty fancy. Alright, let's do the other one. So yeah, let's put some glue. Oh, where was I? I was saying how we're doing the Wild Wild West theme for my grandson, little Jackie's 10th birthday. And I think the adults might have just as much or more fun than these kids are going to have at this party, because I'm thinking we are all going to have a blast. So of course she's made a sign, my daughter Taylor, she's made a sign for saloon, so where all the drinks are going to be on a table. What else are they doing? Those kids, they have a lot of ideas. The adult kids, that is. Oh my gosh. The grandson's just going right along with it. Oh no, my parents are giving me a party. That's my birthday present. This is going to be awesome. Yep. Alrighty. Those are our 2 pages. Okay. So those are going to be our pull-out pages. Next, we have these angled pockets. Remember, they go together like so. So these are going to be placed, one is going to be placed here, and then you could either, because I notched the front of it, you could always put them on here if you want them to cross over. So let me show you. First, I'm going to notch out the corners of where those score lines intersected, including the width of the score line. Cutting those out. And then next, we're going to cut along here, along this line. You can put it in your paper trimmer, or you can use your scissors. Doesn't matter. Just like that. Where's this little bolt thing? Okay, so side, what that gold thing is. And bottom, fold those up. Let's see if we want it here. Do we want it here? Do we want it facing each other? That's not what I had planned. We probably shouldn't deviate from the plan. Do we want them to cross? Or do we want it like this? this is how I had planned it before, like this and like this. What do we want, Nicole? What do we want? Well, people, what do you want? Do you want it like this? Do you want it like this, so they fall out? Do you want it like this, so they stay, so it stays in, right? Well, do you want it longer? Meaning wider? The choices, the choices. Maybe we do it on the front side of two of them. No, I can't do that. Maybe we do it on the back side. Maybe we do it on the front and the back. So it holds in. No, I can't do that. We do it like that. I want it wider. Yeah, it just might fall out. Oh well. Okay, the side, I'm going to do it wider. The decision has been made. Deciding on the fly. Place it down at the corner. At the edge of the book page. Not at the edge of the hinge, at the edge of the page. Right, just like that. And on the back side here, let me confirm. Let me confirm. Yep, that's going to work because these are going to go here, these pockets. Yep. Okay. So, first one, longer width on the front of this first pocket page. Oh my gosh, the whole time I'm not even in the dang video. Okay, so the first angled pocket I decided to glue down to the front of this first pocket page. Okay, flip over the first pocket page, flip over the second pocket page, then the next one is going to be placed here. I'm going to put the short side in first, then the bottom, and that is going to go here. And the important thing about gluing these down is first, don't put too much glue, and then second, when you're putting it down at the corner, make sure you don't go all the way down onto your hinge piece, just to your edge of your page. The closer you are to your spine, the more gap you're going to have in there and the harder it is going to be to lay flat. So anyway, we're trying to avoid that. So I have one angled pocket on the back side of the second pocket page and then one on the front. Okay. Then we have our two long pockets here. So we're going to have the skinny one that's less tall. I think this was 2 3/4 inches tall. Cut out these corners, tuck in the side, fold up the bottom, burnish this down, and let's do the dry fit. So as suspected, Nicole. I did that to match these pages, didn't I? Yeah. So that's actually going to go on the back side of the front pocket. Okay. Then the second piece that measures 3 1/4 inches, we're going to cut out those corner pieces. Okay, and only fold over the sides. Only burnish the sides because that's going to slide down into your first pocket just like so. Okay, so let's glue this skinny pocket down on the back side of the first pocket page. Okay, drew the little dry fit here because, yeah, if it doesn't fit in, then you need to cut off a little bit more of an angle. I'll show you, like that, so that you can tuck it down in there. Okay, so place glue on your two flaps. Tuck that down in there, and then line up the sides. Look my mess. Oh my goodness. Okay. First pocket page, we're going to have the insert. It's going to go right in there, and it should stick out just about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, flip that over, second pocket page goes right in here. Again, same thing, sticks out about 1/4 of an inch. And if you do the dry fit, so it all matters about how far you put this these pocket pages down on your hinge, how much you glued it. If you need to trim them down, then trim them down. I'm going to actually trim mine down about 1/8 of an inch because I don't want them sticking out beyond the edge of my album when I close the album. Like that. I want it to be flush. So that is the album. I have plenty of things to, spots for pictures, to decorate, full-size sheets right here to decorate, booklets. I'm going to see what I want to do with this flap. I think I want to do something else with this flap, but I don't want it to be too bulky. So, and remember, I still have to put the decorative paper under here and then glue down this belly band. So we'll definitely have a belly band piece that we'll be pulling out of here. And yeah, so let me finish up the decorating, and then I will be right back to show you how I finish this up. All right. Okay, let's get started with the walkthrough. This is the London collection by Carta Bella. Of course, this is a going to be a mini album, and it measures 9 inches wide by 7 inches tall, and I have a 1 1/4 inch spine right here. I've used the paper collection coordinating solids, and I had the sticker pack, the enamel dots, I had the chipboard elements, and the ephemera pack. And I used a white artisan cardstock with this. I also had seam binding in both the goldenrod and the navy. And then I had this little 1/8 of an inch polka dotted red ribbon, as well as a black twine that I used from my design team package. So I also did some stitching around here. This is one of the cut aparts. Oh, boys, of course, as soon as I start videoing, here they go, they're going to play. I have some chipboard elements here on the front cover. Isn't that just cute? These are some of the cut aparts from the page, as well as this one. I just left this all grouped together. Okay, we have stickers from the sticker sheet, and I just laid this on this piece, and then, you know, so that they hung off the edge and trimmed it. So cute. And then of course some enamel dots there. And then this is one of the sheets from the collection as well. I didn't do perfect in putting it centered, but you know, it's pretty darn close, I think. So not too bad, not too shabby. I'm not really worried about it, so you know. Okay, so let's get started. When you open this up, I do have a flap page on the front cover and on the back cover, and then I have 2 pages in the middle here. So I think this is going to give plenty of space for pictures in this album. I used the goldenrod seam binding here so that I could showcase those 4x6 cut aparts, since they were horizontal. So they were landscape So you have this one, and then on the back side I have space for, you know, pictures. You have the postcard, Keep Calm and Go to London, the double-decker bus. You have the whole scene with all those buildings. There's no place like London. And then Let's Go and Travel the World. And then travel is always a good idea. So after this last one, so you can see that it fits on the page nicely, it opens it up. I just cut a little slit out here of this yellow paper. You can choose to put the decorative paper down first and then put your waterfall on. Either way, I used a sticker here and then another sticker there, and then this just closes just with a quick tie. Okay. Then we're going to open this flap page up. You're going to see here that we have another large pocket right here. You can stick more photos in. So I just put a couple of landscape style tags in there, and then an extra piece of the cut apart. So I can put notes on there, and then on the back side of this flap, I just put a couple of extra flap pieces here using the cut apart so it opens in each direction. And then you have a nice big spot for some photos there. You can just lay these over however you want. And then that closes up like so. Then on this first page, I have another chipboard element here, one of the ephemera pieces here, one of the ephemera pieces here. This is a little angled pocket, so you have spot to put in some photos there. I just put in some spaces for photos with some matting. And then these are pull-out pages as well, so you have plenty of space for additional photo and journaling there. These are a good size too. Measures 8.5 inches by 6, and yeah, I just trimmed it down to just under 6.25 inches just because I cut my strip a little bit short. But anyhow, that is the pull out there, the first one. Then you turn this over and we actually have a double pocket here. So I have this one where I used a little sticker here, taxi time, a few of the cut aparts right here from the collection. So that's in that shallow pocket. And then I have this tall pocket. It goes all the way down to the bottom, and I just made a couple of tags there with the ribbons so I could do some journaling. And then I have this second page in the middle. Again, an ephemera piece here, and this is a sticker from the sticker sheet, so lots of space there for photo. Another pull-out. Cute. So these are real simple pages to put in the middle, and then the back is the mirror image of the front of the first middle page. So you got the angled pocket again, a couple of pieces here for photos. Look at that cute paper right there. So when I did my walkthrough, I thought this was a very busy paper, and it is. But do you see how with the solid that it really tones it down? I think so. And then of course you have photo mats going in there. Now this is the flap page on the back cover, and so what I did with this one is, of course, I used some enamel dots here. I have some stickers. I used little loops of ribbon here, and I used a couple of the cut aparts on top here, and then I just made it magnet so that you can lift this up, do some journaling, put additional photos in there, and this one lifts this way. And then again, some additional journaling, or you can put another photo there. And this opens to the right. And then I did the black twine here on the top and bottom so that I can use this to keep these little waterfalls closed. And so there's a whole sheet of 3x4s, and almost all of them are vertical. I actually took 2 out from the collection, and I used it on this front piece. So this is one of them. I didn't want to put this in the vertical format, and this was the other. And even though this was in the vertical format, the portrait, there was going to be too much white. So you'll see here, I use this one, Keep Calm and Carry On, right? A little map of the city, From London with Love, the telephone booth. And then I used one of the back sides, the B sides of the paper there, and then this little cute one right here with all the signs, and then the paper underneath. So that's the first waterfall. So you have 6 photos there that you can put in, and then on the back sides of those, rain or shine, it's London time. Favorite places in London, take me to London. In London, everything stops for tea. And I used the black of the coordinating solid. Let's travel to London, England. So again, you have another 6 there. So just right here, if you were only going to use one side of these, you have 12 photos you can put there. Then this is on a belly band. So I did make a pull out here. So I could put more photos on that. So you can stick more underneath this belly band if you want. But then this is how you close that up. And then on the back side here, I wanted to showcase the map page. So I just used my straight edge and I cut along the roadway here around these buildings here just to make a little pocket. So I have a little leftover piece that is there for journaling or photo, another tag. Again, I used a couple of the enamel dots and a little bit of that. And then I put this one on, Keep Calm. This is from the ephemera pack. So these just tuck right in here. I think it's super cute. Interesting, right? And then that closes up like that, and that is the back side. This was a lot of fun to make. I hope that you have enjoyed both the walkthrough and the tutorial. If you did, leave me a thumbs up on my channel. Make sure you check out the links below to all of the collection pieces that I have used here, and the artisan white cardstock that I used for the construction. And I look forward to seeing you back here real soon for another